another vacancy in the highest court in the land. Justice John Paul Stevens is stepping down after 3.5 decades on the bench, and Rachel Martin is at the Supreme Court this morning with details. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Bill. Justice John Paul Stevens is the second justice to step down in the past 12 months. In 2 weeks, he turns 90 years old, and he's the last World War II vet to sit on the court. No doubt, Justice Stevens leaves behind a long and storied legacy. Justice John Paul Stevens, the second longest serving justice on the Supreme Court, handed in his resignation yesterday in a letter delivered to the White House. The president spoke directly with Justice Stevens, then publicly praised Stevens' career.
He's worn the judicial robe with honor and humility. He has applied the Constitution and the laws of the land with fidelity and restraint.
In his 34 years, he grappled with some of the country's most controversial issues.
On many issues, it has been the Stevens court, and it is very significant that he's leaving.
Although he was nominated by Republican President Gerald Ford in 1975, Stevens became a hero to liberals, voting to uphold affirmative action, limit the use of the death penalty, and to curtail executive powers in the post-9/11 world.
He was very strong in ruling against what he said were excessive uses of presidential power and in expanding judicial power in the national security area.
But he may be best remembered for his dissent in the controversial Bush v. Gore decision in 2000. He wrote, "Although we may never know with complete certainty the identity of the winner of this year's presidential election, the identity of the loser is perfectly clear. It is the nation's confidence in the judge as the impartial guardian of the rule of law." Conservatives in Congress are gearing up for a fight as President Obama faces his second vacancy on the Supreme Court. Whoever is chosen, that nominee follows a powerful legacy defined by intellect and independence. A legacy perhaps best described by Stevens himself when talking about the opinions he's written over the years.
I think I've been told over and over again, in case after case after case, that on some issues I've surprised people, yes. But all judges do that. There are a lot of times when people are surprised by what a judge does.
The Obama administration has said they hope to have their nominee named by the end of May. Justice Stevens himself has said he hopes his successor can be confirmed before the next session of the court begins in the fall. Bill.
Okay, Rachel Martin from the Supreme Court. And for some more perspective, we're joined now by Nightline anchor Terry Moran, who covers the High Court for ABC News. Good to see you, Terry. So tell us about his legacy ideologically. Did he drift left or did the court drift right?
A little bit of both, Bill, and it made him a real player towards the end of his tenure on the bench. He did change his positions on a couple of issues, as Rachel pointed out, most famously on affirmative action, on the death penalty. He moved left. But there's no question the court moved right, too, especially in its willingness to strike down acts of Congress and strengthen states' rights. And there's also something else. For much of his career, Justice Stevens really was a guy who went his own way. He wrote his own opinions. He did his own thing, very idiosyncratic judge. Towards the end, it's like he figured out how to work the court, and he became very good at building those coalitions, much more influential.
Fascinating to note that he came in 2 years after Roe v. Wade, but was not asked a single abortion question at his confirmation. A safe bet that will not be the case for his replacement, especially in this election year. Who's on the short list?
Well, the administration and President Obama have been through this just a year ago, so they do have that short list there, and it is going to be a battle no matter who they nominate. As you point out, times have changed. Right at the top of the list, everybody says, is Solicitor General Elena Kagan. This is also from administration sources. The president likes, she's a brilliant legal mind. She was dean of the Harvard Law School. She's a traditional liberal on those hot-button social issues, abortion, gay rights, etc. But she's won the praise of many conservatives because she has defended strongly presidential powers in wartime. So she's right up at the top and would probably get confirmed without too much of a problem. If he wants to stoke his liberal base and thrill the Huffington Post and some of the other places where they go, Judge Diane Wood is really their favorite. She is a passionate liberal with a sweeping view of the Constitution. And then the president has often said he wants to put a politician on the court. People forget presidents used to put governors, senators, even members of Congress on the court. the court that decided the famous Brown versus Board of Education decision, the desegregation decision, most of them were politicians. So the president's looking at Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm, the Homeland Security Secretary and former Arizona Governor Janet Napolitano, and apparently a couple of others, including Rhode Island Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. He'd like to get some of that real-world political experience on a bench which right now doesn't have it.
And then there's always a wild card people love to talk about. Hillary Clinton, her name I'm hearing once again. Any shot at that happening?
Well, she could do the job. She's very busy as Secretary of State, obviously, and seems to have found her role in this administration shaping and helping to shape a lot of that policy. You know, the Supreme Court is a cloister. It's a place where people go and you never see them again. I don't think that's Hillary Clinton.
Well said. Terry Moran, appreciate you checking in with us this morning.